When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Hello, everybody. We're back after a 2-month hiatus. We are finally back. It's September. The sun is shining. It's getting cold again, which can only mean one thing, and hockey is right around the corner. How was your summer, man?
My summer was eventful, I think is the safe way to put it.
Yeah.
Still in the process of moving. There's just a lot of like underlying things that are out of my control.
Sure.
So I'm currently down near Atlantic City for the time being. It's just temporary. It's not where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I have a nice view though. The ocean's literally right there. So
I just watched a How I Met Your Mother episode where they were in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And Marshall got like stupid drunk at a casino.
That does check out. I'm in the town next to Atlantic City, which is more like retirees and things like that. A lot of Philly based people. So you see like a lot of Eagles fans, a lot of Flyers fans, Phillies in baseball, things like that. So but other than that, fairly calm.
Nice.
And got another season of Devil State of Mind going, as well as obviously here with episode 1 of Flames Cast, which doesn't feel like it's been 2 months, if I'm being honest. It feels like
it did fly by too fast.
But it also this was like the longest off season we've had in quite some time.
We'll get into it. It was weirdly like it was one of those weird summers where it was just like it went by fast, but also like it was long enough almost.
Right.
I don't know. But it did feel like it could go by fast. So that doesn't make any sense.
100%.
I say we just jump right into it if you're good with it.
Good.
Okay. All right. So let's go back in time a little bit to end of June, beginning of July. First thing we're going to talk about obviously is going to be the Zary re-signing, but just wanted to go back in time and just relive kind of what happened these last 2 months, which isn't a whole lot. And really the main thing that came around it was Anderson. There was apparently a trade in place for him to LA. He denied it. And now all of a sudden it just went quiet as he's getting now prepared to go into training camp, just like the rest of the league. You look back at the Kevin Ball signing, a couple other minor signings as well, too. The only free agency signing the Flames did was Ivan Provostev, who will back up Dustin Wolf going into this season. And now the next steps, the next 2 steps, which we'll get into as well, is going to be the Dustin Wolf extension, which will happen eventually, and then figuring out what's going to go on here with Rasmus. But that's amazing on the Flames side of it that it was that quiet. Like they did the one signing, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. But I think it's only appropriate to start with what recently happened just about under a week ago now, and it is the fact that it took a while. It was a lot of back and forth trying to figure out the term. The money was not the issue, but it was just the term at the end of the day on what was going to be more comfortable here with the Flames. And They finally get it done. So Connor Zary signed a 3-year, $11.3 million contract, which works out to be about $3.375 million for the next 3 years. And it's time. And as Conroy mentioned after the extension was put in place, it's just that Zary, it's time for him now to kind of take that next step, Adam, guess. So yeah, it's a $3.775 million deal. So my mistake there. Forward now, he's now 24 years old. He was going to be an RFA. He had 27 points last year in the 54 games. He was dealing with a bit of an injury. And then lastly here, just from Zary himself, it was a long one, but it finally got it done. It was a huge weight off my shoulders. Feels great. Can't wait to get back into training camp, basically, and to get things going. So, Neil, first question to start off season 2 here for the Flames. Your thoughts on the Zary extension?
Yeah, well, this was certainly going to be one of the bigger, if not the biggest task that Craig Conroy had to deal with, other than obviously what's going on with Anderson. But that's unfortunately
we're gonna get to it.
it's a story for later in the episode. But yeah, no, I think locking him down was important. And what's interesting is that again, it was mentioned not necessarily the money but term. I think with the new CBA and with obviously, as we mentioned before, the salary cap going up, I think that is one of the reasons why a lot of contracts in the NHL, especially re-signings of RFAs, have been taking longer than we expected. Like you think about guys like Luke Hughes, Mason McTavish, those guys haven't been signed yet. And we are about a week or so away from the start of training camp. It's crazy to even think about that.
It's wild. Yeah,
it is wild. Speaking of Minnesota, Marco Rossi as well signed for way less than I thought he was going to get. I think that in this situation, though, I think it was a matter of, is this more of a prove it deal for Zary? I guess in a way it's, a bump in salary. It's obviously he has some term on that, which is good. But it's certainly based on a projection of what I think Conroy and the Flames think of Zary moving forward and taking another step. And it says there in this piece that he missed 2 different stints of games because of injury. He missed a grand total of 25 games this
season. Yeah.
With 27 points, he had 13 goals. This is a guy that can put up 20 goals if he can stay healthy. And that, he's still fairly young, and I'm not stressing about is he injury prone, yada, yada, yada. I mean, that was a bad injury that he sustained on that hit from Mikko Rantanen. It should have been a penalty. And we talked about it, when it happens.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. The best revenge the Flames could do is go and beat Dallas later on this season. But no, this is the thing I really like about Zary is that he has sneaky good stick handling ability. He showed that several times. He's got the speed that I think could make him a very solid top 9 guy, even top 6 guy, if he can continue to progress. And I'm hoping that he can take another step in his goal scoring, because again, one of the big things that we talked about throughout the season last year was the Flames' inconsistency with putting the puck in the back of the net. Yeah. And they didn't make a ton of moves this offseason, made a lot of minor signings. So they're banking on a lot of guys like Zary to pick it up. And I think that Zary has the capability to pick it up, and I think he will. Mm-hmm. So getting him locked down is great, because also what it establishes, Kyle, starting to really establish the core, as I mentioned before. Right. Is Zary going to be a part of that? I think this contract kind of proves it a little bit.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. In the next year or two, it's going to be a lot clearer where he stands on everything. But no, good piece of business. Glad it finally got done, and it got done way before training camp starts. So it's one less thing that Craig Conroy has to talk about with the media, has to worry about. Yep. And now we can move on to other things like what we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. So I think again, just following up on it as the summer went on, it was between the two camps, the term wasn't the issue, because they both understood that it's a guy who missed, what did we say here? Sorry, 24 games. I think he missed 25. Thank you. Played 54 games last year. So you're absolutely right. This is a guy who could easily put up 20 goals on the season, which would be great. You just need to find a way to stay healthy. So the term that you get him at, it's great. I love the money that he's at too. He's only at 3.775, which is great. And again, it's that kind of prove it deal where, when he does turn into that UFA going into, he'll be 27 when he's a UFA, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably when he wants to try and lock down a long-term deal. If he can get if he goes off all of a sudden and he wants an 8-year, 7-year type deal, that's going to be the time to do it, right? So this certainly this says more about Zary than it does the Flames, because we need to start seeing it show face, and not blaming him because of the injuries. Injuries suck; they happen all the time. But we're just looking to see if he can take that next step. And the biggest question is for me, absolutely, can he provide more goals for the team that was lacking of it? But where is he going to fit in this lineup? Because now you have Morgan Frost who re-up for 2 years earlier on in July. He's going to be taking more of that second centerman role for the Flames going in. So that takes out the part where Zary all of a sudden becomes that centerman, because that Backlund's going to be in that 3C spot regardless this season. Mm-hmm. So you wonder, where is he really going to fit? And I think because of this deal, I got to see him play on the second line here. I'd like to see him play with Morgan Frost. And ideally, does he end up playing with Coronado? Does Coronado get bumped up to the first line? That's going to be something to watch out for too. But I think specifically for Zary, I'd like to see him with this kind of contract, with this prove it sense deal. I'd like to see him play more top 6 minutes, more into that second line, and let guys like Blake Coleman and maybe Joel Farabee go into that third, fourth line kind of area and let them kind of figure it out there in terms of being on that bottom six. Sure. So you can't stick Zary there on the bottom. But yeah, no, it's good term. It's great money. It's just going to be one of those things where now we're about to find out, right? We're going to find out in the next 2 to 3 years what he's really going to be like. And you hope it doesn't turn into a situation where, Zary's lighting it up, but what if he doesn't want to stay after 3 years is done? And we saw that happen with Tkachuk very easily.
100%, 100%. Connor Zary's agent, I just saw this, just thought it'd kind of be a fun thing to drop in.
Yep.
His agent is Michael Kaye, Kaye. Doesn't have a whole lot of clients, but Connor Zary's contract now is the highest AAV of any player that Michael Kaye represents. Okay. The worst contract, though, that he I guess maybe not worst contract from an agent standpoint, but I think for the team it probably is the Tanner Jeannot signing to the Boston Bruins. That is also a Michael Kaye client. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because the AAV for Tanner Jeannot is 3.40. For Connor Zary, it is currently 3.78. But that's over only 3 years, so it's different. I just thought that was interesting. And the other thing I wanted to quickly bring up is, and you've used it before with Daily Faceoff, they do lineup projections. And granted, it's early. The current projection of the top 6 is, and I'm going to go from left wing to right wing. So go from left to right. You have on the first line, you have Huberdeau, Kadri, Zary. That's where they have Zary projected, at least for now. Then you have Coleman, Backlund, Coronado, right? Then you have on the third line, Farabee, Frost, Sharangovich. And then on the third line, you have Lomberg, Pospisil, Klapka. I would just like to say that I am not against Blake Coleman for now being that second line left winger, because he can still be fairly productive.
Sure.
I would rather see Coronado on the top line. We talked about it earlier at the end of last season about, after he signed his long-term extension, where we want to see him play.
Yep.
I think Zary being on the top 6 for now, I think is important for him if you want to see him take that next step. I would flip Zary and Coronado, and I'd keep Zary. And I think I would move Frost to the second center position and move Backlund to the third.
Yeah.
So then that way you have Backlund, who's more of a pass first guy, dish it off to a guy like Sharangovich, which, hopefully he can find more consistency with putting the puck in the back of the net and get it going. Farabee can sneakily pot in a couple goals here and there.
Yep.
I think the lineup is not terrible. I think what I just read is fairly close to what we might see on opening night, but obviously I think things need to change, but I think that's
so. I'm going to go bottom to top here.
Yeah, go bottom.
Fourth line, perfect. Don't have a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
I like that they're giving Klapka that opportunity. They also re-upped him as well this offseason for, I think it was a 1 or 2 year deal, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Third line, that's Backlund's line. That's going to be where you're going to see Blake Coleman. Yeah. That's also ultimately where you're probably going to see Joel Farabee too. So he's going to have to, for Joel, like he's almost like, yeah, you're playing with veteran guys a little bit on that third line. But you're also like for Joel, like it's kind of a prove it deal for himself too, where he needs to find a way to make it work with that veteran line. He also could be a complementary piece to go onto that second line, maybe, and try to find something.
Sure.
But like you kind of don't, you mentioned it there with Sharon Govich here, and I'll elaborate. You don't really have a choice with the deal that he signed. You have to put him on that second line, and you have to put him there with Frost and Zary, right? That line is going to more than likely make or break what this team's going to look like early on, right?
Sure.
And you have to give Coronado the opportunity because, like I said, and I hammer on it every time, that, Kadri may not be your, most intriguing number one center. Huberdeau's your playmaker. He's your setup guy, and you need to have a guy like Coronado who can be your goal scorer. And we might see that because he had 30 goals last year. So, yeah, I kind of agree that's where I see it, but things can change going to opening night. Sure. And now that we're talking about it, might as well talk about the defense, right?
Sure.
And that kind of leads into this segment of 3 burning questions. So
I was going to say, if you wanted me to also read what the line combinations for the defensive pairings, I can read that. You just want to hear it. If you don't, it's fine.
Sure. Might as well. Let's do it.
They currently have Ball and Anderson, top pairing. Second pairing, Hanley, Weegar, and then Jake Bean and Braden Paschal.
Pahal. Yeah.
So, which, by the way, 94 as a defenseman is a diabolical number.
Right. I'm going to say this really about the defense because I think that's like the way that this offseason has gone. You're right. Like Backlund's already said it. He said that Anderson's gone. Like this, it's just a foregone conclusion he's going to go.
Of course.
It's just a matter of the timing of it. Again, I kind of see it where it's going to lead into December and January, like what we saw with Elias Lindholm, and somebody's going to step up because there's going to be a desperate team out there that's going to need it, right? And that's where I'm going to formulate what this trade could potentially look like. But to start the year, absolutely, like you're going to see Anderson more than likely with Joel Hanley or Kevin Ball, wherever they see it. I actually think it's going to be Weegar with Kevin Ball on that side. And then your third line there is unfortunately going to be Jake Bean and Braden Pahal. However, it is a job to lose because Zane Parekh is going to show, like if he comes into training camp and he shows Craig Conroy and company and Huska and go, man, like now that he's had that extra year, man, he comes in, like how can you leave a guy like this off the roster? My worry is that I think because they signed him to a 3-year entry level deal, this is going to be his second year. Like you almost have to start him. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think that's fair in that sense. I would like to just put in one thing when it comes to the Anderson trade, and this may be, I don't think everybody would agree with it, but I would like to think that wherever he gets sent to, I would like to see the Flames get a plug-in defenseman back. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about anybody spectacular, but just I think having depth is important. And I think that I don't know how competent Craig Conroy and co want to be, youth-wise on the back end, just in general. I think
sure.
And it's gonna also depend on different factors, like where are the Flames at that point when he gets traded, right? Where, like, what are we looking for and everything?
Sure.
And I think that all of those questions not going to be answered right now, but certainly I think once we get into the nitty-gritty. What I am curious about with Anderson is if he doesn't, obviously he knows he's probably not going to get traded for a while. Is his goal to try to put forth the best effort he can, knowing that his situation is he going to, I don't think he's going to hold out. I don't think he's going to be like, I'm not playing until I get traded. Maybe
so his mindset is as of September 8th, I'm a Flame.
Right.
That's his mentality. And his mentality going into training camp is and going into the season is I'm going to try to put this team in the best position to make the playoffs.
Right.
That's his mindset. It isn't
And play
out of his
well
control.
personally to
Right.
up his value.
To up his value,
so
because
that Vegas will then try to come in and try to steal him again.
But again, it's selfishly for Anderson. It is a contract year for him, don't forget. So he has to go into this season knowing that he wants a long-term deal. So this is a very important year for him regardless. And even if he starts with the Flames, and the Flames know this too, they both want what's best. And they're both more than likely going into this going like, we want what's best for you. And this can work out well if we all just contribute to you having a good start and us having a good start as well too, and seeing what kind of value we can get back. Right. So I'm going to fight back on you, though, on what you mentioned, though, about getting depth and more of a defensive prospect. I argue that they have depth, and you look at the AHL, I think they have the depth when you look at defense. You got to start looking at more prospects who are pure goal scorers. I think I fight back with you on that, like, because that's the one thing that's really missing from this is that they need to start finding some guys who can score more and who are naturally born goal scorers, who are young prospects, who they're willing to get in. So I'm hoping that
take a depth defenseman like a seventh. Would you take a depth defenseman, but also a prospect forward as well that has a scoring ability?
I would rather. My top priority would be to find a forward goal scorer prospect.
Okay, fair.
So everything else that comes below it, I don't necessarily care about. I don't really care about first round picks anymore. I don't really care about defensive prospects because I think they have a good pipeline of it already. And the goaltending is already solved with Dustin Wolf being your guy long term. So there's not much that you really want back. And like, considering how these last 2 or 3 drafts have gone for the Flames, it's gone really well, considering where they ended up finishing. So there's not much else to really look at. So I'm hoping that when they do this deal for Anderson, it's like your top priority is getting that top forward prospect who can be a pure goal scorer and nothing else. Like I would rather them go after that and tell other teams, like, we don't want other crap. Like, this is what we want.
Yeah. I would rather the Flames be like where they were in the offseason and with dealing with Anderson about having a set price and not trying to double down on it and end up getting less because, it was very obvious that Anderson seemed to only have eyes to go to Vegas for the longest time.
At the time, yes.
At the time. Things could change, right? There could be other teams that come in at different points in the year and might call Calgary. There are goal scorers out there, but I think I just want to preface this by saying with caution that the salary cap going up plays a factor in all this because are teams willing to give up X, Y, and Z, knowing that they're not at the same difficult, tight position of salary cap space? Like, I'll just use a really quick example. It's been very obvious that teams have called Seattle to try to acquire Jared McCann.
Yes.
So now that the salary cap has gone up, the Kraken are looking at it like, well, now we have much less incentive to get rid of him because we don't need to, because we have the space to keep him around for the next 2-3 years of the rest of his deal.
Sure.
And so somebody's got to blow us away with the deal. So that's kind of what I look at with it. And I think for the Flames, you have a decent amount of cap space. That's not something you have to worry about. But it is going to be interesting to see how teams, if they do it all, how they change the way that they present a team in general with a package, particularly for a guy on an expiring deal.
Yes.
That's something that I would just keep in mind as to why things may take longer or why things are not as, sudden as we've grown accustomed to seeing over the last couple of years.
There's also you also have to think about it like this too. There's also, you're starting to think about the realm where, Backlund does talk about yes, it's a foregone conclusion that he's gone. You could get to the deadline as another scenario here. There might not be a deal that makes Craig feel comfortable taking. And it's a risk because you would then go into the offseason, but I also don't hate the idea of trying to bring him back on a mid to long-term deal anymore. Right. I was against it, but you wonder if he's hit his prime and it's only going to go down. Like, you don't know. Like, there's a lot of the unknown factors. So like, has it just hit to the point where it's, it's gone too far and like he's going to be out the door regardless? Or is there a realm where does he find a way to re-sign? I don't know. Like, I think that boat's kind of sailed, has it not?
I think unless the player himself makes it clear that there is no point of return, I think there always is. I think about what Backlund said, I think it was like 2 weeks ago when he was at the Olympic media tour, and obviously, Sweden, and they asked him about Anderson, and he was like, look, as far as we understand, he's going to get dealt. He's not going to be on the team the whole year. And he said that sucks.
Yeah.
But he did want to preface by saying, you never know what could happen, though. Things could change. For all we know, right? And this is a big if. For all we know, the Flames take another step towards getting to where we want them to be, right? And winning consistently and being in contention. And maybe the Flames have a really, really strong year. And maybe as the season goes on, especially if Anderson's playing well and the team is winning, that maybe he sees more of a direction of, I could see myself now staying here and being a part of this rather than trying to go and find the next team that's going to give me a quote unquote better chance to win. You know, it's like the old saying goes, the grass is not always greener somewhere else. I'm not saying that Anderson should forget about being traded. Until things change, he's going to go. And that's what Conroy has basically said. That's what Anderson is under the impression with. It's just, it is unfortunate that it hasn't been done yet.
Yep.
Because, distraction wise, you don't want to have to constantly be thinking about this, but it is something that we're going to talk about until it happens together. Right.
Until it happens, which is unfortunate. Like, you didn't want to run into that, and it makes it awkward for some of the guys going to training camp.
Sure.
But, again, like you just say, like he's a Flame until he's not. And that's just kind of what we're going to have to deal with going into the season. So that kind of answered. It's funny because I had Sports, I put out an article for the Flames here, 3 burning questions here. And that was one of the questions here. So I'm going to move on from that. We can talk about
I was going to really say, I don't know if you were going to bring this up at some point, but you mentioned Zane Parekh. Did you happen to catch this lovely mustache that this kid is rocking? I mean,
that to me is
I hope he
needs to be on this team, man.
I hope he keeps it and that becomes a thing.
Yep.
Because that is one unbelievably nice mustache.
He needs to be on this team to start the season. He does. I'm sorry. He just needs to.
He's got to prove it in training camp, though.
Oh, 100% he does. For sure.
I don't want to be like he doesn't do well in training camp, and then we're like, well, we're still going to throw him out there.
For sure. But the mentality is still going to be more or less on the defensive side. Go take a job, man. We may have re-signed some of these guys. Doesn't mean we can't dump them for nothing, because the value for them is not going to be high anyway. So go take a job. That's essentially what it is. And I can easily see him being in the top 4. So it's going to be curious to watch. I think the second question we had here was Kadri on the Olympic team, but I'm going to pass by that because that's maybe a conversation down the road. I wanted to bring this up, though, because now we're going to talk goaltending here. And then we'll get into maybe early predictions before we take a break.
Sure.
So as it states here, for those of you who can't see, how high will Dustin Wolf be placed in the NHL goalie rankings by the end of the season? So the runner-up to Lane Hudson was Dustin Wolf, who faced the 11th most high danger shots against last season. And he finished with the 6th best high danger save percentage among all the NHL starting goaltenders. So he's 24 years old, who did win goalie of the year honors at the major juniors and the AHL levels before he was the runner-up here for the Calder Trophy. Where do you see him, if you're just looking at not necessarily the stats, but just overall rankings of goaltender by the end of the season? Where do you see Dustin Wolf being?
I could see Dustin Wolf, if everything goes well, I could see Wolf approaching the top 10. I think a lot of people look at him, and we saw it all year in the offseason in the media, that many people are high on him with his abilities and what he was able to do last year to be one of, if not the biggest factor to why the Flames stayed in the hunt for as long as they did last year. And he answered he answered one of the bigger questions going into last year was you traded Jacob Markstrom away, and now you're passing the baton to Dustin Wolf. How is he going to look now that knowing he's the number one guy? Well, he took that baton and he ran, and he literally ran with it. Like he was phenomenal. And I do want to say that I would like to think that the United States Hockey Federation is looking at Dustin Wolf and saying, if he plays to a certain level throughout the year, I think we have to strongly consider him as one of the 3 guys we carry going.
He might not play.
He might not play, but it might be important for him to be there and to practice and to be a part of that. And I think that goes a long way. So I think that I could see a world where they go Hellebuck, Ottinger, Wolf. I could see a world where that could be the case. Maybe they throw in Wolf in like one game where the USA's already locked up, their place in the medal round, the elimination rounds, and they're like, let's just let them get in there for a game and what the heck, right?
Sure.
But it's all going to depend on, I think how his performance goes once the year starts. And I will say this, that I think in general, with the Olympics being a thing this year for the NHL, I think you're going to see a lot of guys be much more, in prime game shape at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Because there's that extra motivation, especially for fringe guys that we're not sure about, maybe even a Nazem Kadri, where they want to prove that they deserve the right to be there, right?
You bet.
And so
and
I think with Dustin Wolf, though, I think if everything goes well and he has another strong year, I could see him reaching that top 10, maybe even at number 10 goalie in the NHL, especially if, again, the Flames are winning and they're in that position and things like that, because that will go a long way for him. So that's how high I can see him finishing this year in terms of that ranking.
I'm going to go a step further. I think you could see him. I think you could see him being a top 5 goaltender by the season's end. I think he could be right up there, because you have to think about it. He's more than likely going to get around 60 games this upcoming season. He's going to get a shit ton of starts coming up, right?
Sure.
And with Provostev coming in, like, you might see a bit of him. Maybe you'll see a bit of Cooley, depending how, like, for 1 or 2 games or whatever. But the bulk of it's coming from Wolf, and that's not a debate here, right?
Right.
Considering how well he played last year, that was his first real year in the NHL. Now that he's got that experience under his belt, like, I could see a world where he could be easily a top 5 goaltender in this league. Like, you talk about the guys like the Hellebucks of the world, the Ottingers, the Swaymans. Like, you look around the league, I just don't think that take the division alone that we're in the Pacific. He's by far, by none, the best goaltender in that division. It's not even a debate, right? Take a look at the Central. I would argue outside of Jake Ottinger and Connor Hellebuck, obviously. So he's probably 3rd in the West. I think I consider him that high, right? And then you obviously go out east, and there's maybe a couple more conversations there, but I think he can hit that point where he could be that top 5, get into that top 5 conversation a little bit. So I think his potential is huge. I think the fact that he's getting 60 plus games is great, because he's said it before. He's like, that's what I want. I want to be the guy to go in and play 60 plus games. So that kind of leads into prediction time. I think we start it right away. Like, where it's a question that, again, it's more of that like middle of the pack type scenario here, but where do you end up seeing this team by season's end?
I think I see this team in a fairly similar position that they were last year. I think that they have the ability to make the playoffs. Maybe not finish top 3 in the Pacific Division. I could see them, though, competing for like the 3rd or 4th spot in that division, but certainly being a wild card team at the very least. Especially if, as we just mentioned, if Dustin Wolf is on his A game and he can take yet another step, we're going to win a bunch of games, low scoring, because we're going to find a way.
It happened last year.
If we're getting guys like Zary and Coronado who are stepping up and taking another, push towards being that 20 to 30 goal scorer kind of range, if Sharon Govich can get back to a level that he is capable of when he's on his game, like he was 2 years ago in his first year in Calgary.
Mm.
I think that's going to be it, because I think the biggest question is going to be, where is the consistent offense coming from? Because at the end of the day, goals is how you win games.
You bet.
And I think that the Flames no longer can surprise teams. I think last year there were many times where teams were caught off guard by how resilient that Flames team was, and how much that they were, even when they weren't playing all that well and they were even struggling to score, they still found a way to win. I think about that game against New Jersey.
I was just
in
going to say
March,
that.
where they were down by, at that time, they were down by 1 goal.
I think it was
late
3-1 or something like that.
It was
wasn't
3-1.
Yeah.
And they not only tied it, but they scored the game winner on a shorthanded goal. And it was a stunned kind of thing. We did it live. We did that game live.
We were stunned. All of us
It
were
was a
stunned.
stunned situation.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody, who was it?
You can tell that still doesn't haunt you to this day. Eh?
Oh, it was one of the many games. From a Devils perspective, it was
Sure.
Jacob Markstrom going 0-2 against his former team doesn't
Not
really
a good
help
look.
out. Not a good look. But who scored? Defenseman. It was like his only goal of the year last year. I'm trying.
It was Miramanov.
Yeah. What? Like
how
what?
does that happen?
But last year it felt like every win, somebody else stepped up. Somebody had a big moment. Somebody, whatever the case may be. I don't think that element of surprise is going to be the same this year. I think more teams are going to be more prepared for that, and everything. And I think that the Flames have to continue to play that level of being structured. I think that they do. I think that they follow their system fairly well to a team. And if they can just stay together, I think that they're capable of competing in this division and competing in the Western Conference. And I think so. I'm going to say that this is I'll call them a fringe playoff team. That's the way I'll describe it. So that's where I'm looking at them this year. I think this is a team that can get to like between 85 and 90 points. And I still think that's enough to
in a bad division. Yes. Correct. Yeah.
I am worried about Utah, though. I feel like Utah's going to be better than and
I'm going to touch. No, I agree. Like I'm going to touch on that. The only way this team makes the playoffs is by finishing third in the Pacific. That's it. They ain't getting that wild card. There's no shot they get. I think the Central is too strong still this year. Utah's going to take another step. Minnesota hasn't gone anywhere. St. Louis isn't going to go anywhere. You know, your top 3 teams with Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg are all going to be right there too. So I think it's just too Central heavy. And I think they're going to dominate that Central division. And who knows, maybe Nashville bounces back this year, right? We don't know that, right?
It can only go awesome. They can only go up.
Exactly. Can only go up from whatever the hell happened last year.
Whatever.
You could make an argument that 7 of the teams there like can find a way in, right? And 3 of them are probably for sure locks. So I don't see that changing this year. So the only way this team gets in is by getting that 3rd spot. I think LA shot themselves in the foot this offseason. And I harped on it last year and I was like, man, they're going to miss the playoffs. And unfortunately they made it in and then shot themselves in the foot.
Right.
But with the head scratching moves that they made, like getting rid of Jordan Spence, you know, a lot of their signings were guys like who are clearly older, right? I don't know how that's going to play well here for the Kings. You had a Vezina career year from Darcy Kemper as well. How's that going to translate? So I think for me, there's a lot of questions there from LA. Has Vancouver gotten better? I don't know. Like they bring in Evander Kane. It doesn't spark anything for me really there.
And you know, Rick Tocchet leaves. You replace him with Adam Foote and
no longer JT Miller there.
Here's the thing about the Adam Foote thing is that we all know why he was given the job.
We know why he was
because of the captain being a huge fan of Adam Foote. We'll see how it goes because I don't know. I'm very confused on them.
It's weird. So, because I think if you're just purely looking at it, like you might as well put Vegas and Edmonton as a lock for 1 and 2.
Sure.
I don't see that changing.
Right.
I don't see the Ducks' longevity going into the season. Like they might have a good start, but long term, I don't think it's going to pan out well for them, right? The Sharks, I think it's still a little early. I think they'll get better, but it's still, we saw how bad they were last year too.
Play against this year. I think
they'll be a pain in the ass, and it's not going to be like last year for sure. And I still think they'll end up somewhere in the bottom, but it's still just a little early for the Sharks. Next year, they're going to be a problem. Like they're going to be an issue next year.
When like Michael Misa gets there and Jason Dickinson, it's gonna suck for the rest.
Sam Dickinson, yes,
Sam Dickinson, sorry, yes.
The Sharks are going to be a problem coming up. So if there's ever a chance for this team to get in, it's probably this season for that third spot. I just look around and I don't, and then Seattle, like
Seattle's like Vancouver because it's like we don't really know what we're gonna get.
Right. So I don't really know what we're getting there. Yeah. So in conclusion, I think they find a way to get in. I hate to and listen, I'm the one that I hate to say it. I just think they do. I think that because you just know this team's not going to tank. You know these guys are going to go in with the mentality of we're getting in the goddamn, because they're pissed off that they didn't get in last year. They're going in with the mindset of, we're friggin' getting in this year. Like that's going to be the mindset of it, right? Whether it happens or not is two completely different scenarios. So I don't even like saying the fact that they get in. I think that based on the events of what's happened this offseason, and this is even with if they lose Anderson and who knows what they get in the trade, that's a whole different conversation. But I just think of what the other teams have done around them in the offseason. It kind of opens the door a little bit, and they don't even have to repeat their performance of last year. You're right. If they find a way to get anywhere between 85 and I would argue 92, 93 points, that might be enough. So the important thing is that your divisional games are going to mean a lot again this year because you have to take advantage of it. So your divisional games mean the world because it came down to game 82 last year against the Kings.
Literally.
Where they could have got in had it not been for Anaheim losing, but whatever. The divisional games are going to be important. I think they need to be better. They need to be a better Eastern Conference road team because they were not last year. They weren't good on the road earlier on in the season. They losing in Ottawa, Columbus, Pittsburgh, down in Florida, losing in Carolina. Like the list goes on. On the road in the Eastern Conference, they were terrible. So
and some of those games were winnable too. It wasn't like they just got blown out. They were winnable games that they can.
Outside of that little New York trip with New Jersey, the Rangers, and the Islanders, they weren't really that great on the road in the East. So that needs to change. And then also Eastern teams coming in, they kind of took advantage of them as well. So they need to be better against the other conference. And if they can fix that up and take care of their division a little bit, I don't see a world in which they can definitely get in. They won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I can see them finding a way to sneak in. There's also the world where, again, I hate to say it, there's another world where they just finish ninth.
Right.
And then what?
And then what, right? Yeah. Then it's like, did we take a step back? Did we stagnate? Where do you go? Because I think for fans, right, you want to see the team go in a direction, whether good or bad, where you can kind of feel like you have an idea as to where, like what needs to be done to continue to move forward, right? I think if the team takes a step back and let's say they finish, towards maybe the bottom of the Western Conference, just as an example, you can at least say to yourself, okay, now, there's another opportunity to get more young players in the system and to kind of go from there. And conversely, if you go and you make the playoffs this year, it's not one of those things where we say like, oh, it was a fluke, it came out of nowhere. Well, no, they were on the verge of doing it last year.
Sure.
And if they go from just barely missing out to getting in, that to me is more progress than anything else.
Right.
Because then you could go into the next offseason and go, what can we do? Especially with I'm just saying with what the free agency class could potentially look like next year. And the Flames will have a lot of money a
lot of cash. Yep.
They can do it. They can go out and they can get a marquee player that could take them to even that next step. But I don't want to get ahead of myself.
No, of course. Yeah. So, and then also there's last thing here before we take a break is there's also the possibility that you use Rasmus Anderson as a bargaining chip and you go out and buy a young prospect. You might eat maybe a first round pick too, but you can use that as a bargaining chip too. You don't have to think of it like selling him off. You have to think of it like maybe we can go out and buy a young centerman
Right. You
And
have
it's possible.
you have an asset that could get you more assets.
Yeah, and first round picks to dish, because that Vegas pick will be late.
And and we talked about it before. Just because you have a boatload of first picks doesn't mean you're going to use all of them in a draft.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
Especially as we move on here, right? And some of the older teams continue to, you know, struggle, like the Pittsburghs of the world and teams like that. You have something that could entice them to make a deal for whatever, right?
Whatever it might be.
And there's guys there. I mean, but it's all gonna, again, all this is gonna depend on where do we go. And training camp is still over a week away. So,
and the beginning of the season, not a lot of easy teams in the first stretch, and that's what's going to be tough. So, yeah, I mean, hey, we're going to get to a lot of that more, and maybe we'll get like full-blown predictions before the season starts, like where we'll see the team stack and all that.
We could do like the entire league. We can just
we'll do that before the season starts for sure. Okay. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll take a look at the offseason, and I got another thing. I just can't remember what it is. We'll be back. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick one more or less on two or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite quarterbacks, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger the payouts. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN, and you just play $5 to get a $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. You make the call, ride the upside. It's in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Okay, let's turn over the page here and let's look more at the scope of what happened here in the offseason a little bit. The one question that I wanted to ask you was, what was the biggest move this offseason? What kind of caught your eye the most?
I would say Matthew Coronado signing his extension. And I know that wasn't really like an off-season move, but
even like with the Flames, I'm saying like league wide.
Oh, in league wide. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I'll say for the Flames again, Matthew Coronado.
Sure. Okay.
Just because I feel like that was important.
Okay.
League wise, Kevin Rooney signing a PTO with the Devils. That was actually very funny, by the way. That
I did see that. I saw that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. He returns to New Jersey. There's a certain part of the fan base of the Devils that's really happy that he's back. I could go either way about it.
I'm kind of happy he's out the door, but whatever.
His underlying numbers are actually better than I thought they were last year, which
his defensive, his penalty kill actually was pretty good.
If he makes the Devils, he's a fourth liner that literally can win faceoffs, and that's about it. And that's what he did in Calgary, and that's
pretty much it.
But I think, and this is a good question because there weren't that many like moves, right? And I'm going to say the Nikolai Ehlers signing to the Carolina Hurricanes. It's the biggest offseason move because the Hurricanes' biggest issue, other than goaltending, because it's still a question mark even now, is that their offense at times will go dry. And you'd think that that wouldn't be the case with some of the talent that they have. Sebastian Aho, Svechnikov, Blake, Jarvis, right?
To be more specific, they go dry at the worst times.
Worst times.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I meant. And when I say worst times, I'm meaning like playoffs, right? They beat New Jersey and they didn't have to score a lot, quite frankly, because the Devils couldn't score at all. But then you got then you got to Washington, and again, you didn't score a whole lot, but again, you didn't need to because Washington couldn't score. Then you get to Florida again, and you just get mollywopped again, and you struggle to score. Some of the guys just weren't stepping up, and they've been looking for a top 6 goal scoring winger for several years now. They've been on a lot of guys at the trade deadline, free agency, and trying to convince guys to stay in Carolina. Not necessarily just stay, but also come there. And we think about it, right? Didn't happen with Jake Gensel. Didn't happen with Mikko Rantanen, as we saw. Although I still think the Canes got out of that pretty much okay. I think it worked out. But you're able to get Nikolai Ehlers, who is a very talented goal scorer in his own right when he's on his game, now on this team. The one question that I have, though, is that Nikolai Ehlers as well does at times tend to go cold in the playoffs.
Right.
Does he actually fit into that same thing in Carolina?
I was going to mention that too. Yeah.
But I think Carolina has done a lot of good things this offseason. I still don't know about the goaltending. And I wonder to myself if that's going to end up eventually biting them in the you-know-what.
It's possible.
But I like to think impact-wise, I think Nikolai Ehlers for sure to Carolina. And I know people say, oh, what about Mitch Marner? I mean, what is Mitch Marner? What does Mitch Marner move the needle for Vegas where before? I mean, sure, maybe a little bit.
I think
they were already good.
Sure. So to touch on the Nikolai, I was going to actually make that argument that Ehlers went quiet in the playoffs this year too, going into the second round. Like he was fine in the first round.
I think he had 1 goal, 2 goals in the playoffs?
Something like that, but he went quiet, right? So but that's the thing. He's not going to be the guy that's going to drive the team, right? He's going to be a contributor, right? They want him on that first line, but it's definitely going to be something to watch. Like, no doubt Carolina gets back in, right? They figure it out, right? Goaltending's going to be a problem. And then, again, it's going to be, can you get by the big guy in Florida here? And they are until they're not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to touch upon actually, like for me, the biggest one I think is going to be Mitch Marner. And I think more or less the stories that are coming out about his camp is fascinating, right? And they're a bunch of jerks, man. And the way, like, you think of how that went down, it was just fascinating to watch.
Did you happen to catch the latest Steve Dangle podcast episode and talked about it at length?
Yep.
Boy, it's really fascinating because you don't really know who exactly is driving the bus here.
Sure.
In this whole situation, because I think that
I would argue the agent, but sure.
I would argue the agent too. Who's his agent? Is it Pat? I'm trying to remember what's his name.
Right. No.
Brisson.
Brisson, maybe?
Anyway. Brisson, I think it is Pat Brisson.
Maybe.
Who I like to say is he's hard to negotiate with for a lot of guys.
Sure.
By the way, he was also the agent for Marc-Andre Fleury when we had the infamous knife in the back. Just pointing that out. But hearing all these things that are coming out, and it's like, why now? Why is all this coming out now? Because
he's finally out of the grass. There. He's no longer there.
So now you could just open up the can of worms and let it go and be like, we can say whatever we want. And I think that the Leafs at times did not do the best job of acknowledging and giving the respect that Mitch Marner, I think, deserved. At the same time, Mitch Marner also at times did not do enough to earn the respect and acknowledgement of the fans.
Specifically in the playoffs, yes.
Specifically in the playoffs. Regular season, dude's awesome. Dude,
he had 115 points this past
he'll
season.
He'll put up 30-plus goals this year in Vegas. He will. It's just what's going to happen.
With the assists on top, yeah.
With the assists. But, yeah, no, that story about his address being leaked by fans, I mean, that's more on the fans than anything. It's just
it is more on the fans. Like,
it
is, and like that's just also a testament to like that's the fan base, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a fan base like desperate for a cup, right?
But you know what it tells me also? I'll just say this really quick, Kyle, and then I'll let you finish, is this. Yes, Mitch Marner went somewhere that gives him a great chance to win. But that wasn't the only factor that played into this.
Nope. He
chose one of the least stressful places to go play.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to be the guy. He's not the guy. Jack Eichel is the guy.
Yeah.
For now. Well, we'll see what happens with Jack Eichel this offseason.
Well, with the money that Mitch got too, like he's kind of a guy.
Yeah, but I think in the sense of like Mitch Marner can just kind of fit in as opposed to they look to him as the guy that's going to be the biggest reason we win the cup kind of thing. Because this team did win a cup with a bunch of the guys they have on the roster now.
Sure.
Right. So I'm just saying. But he can go to Vegas and live in the Vegas suburbs.
Sure.
And not feel like every day when he walks out of his house that there are cameras, that there's a fan that's driving by telling him to go F himself or whatever, right? I think that was one of the bigger factors, right? Because when you think about when you think about the locations of a lot of the teams that are really good right now, there aren't that many that play in markets where you feel like that you can kind of just blend in and not be like constantly hounded. I think Sunrise is one of them.
Yep.
But that's different now because they've won back-to-back cups. Vegas is another. He couldn't go.
LA.
LA. Yeah. Carolina. He couldn't go to Carolina without getting constantly hounded. I don't think he could. Personally, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think Carolina's a passionate fan base like that. Yeah,
very passionate. Yep. Very passionate. New York, no, he's ridiculed all the time.
No.
He could have played in New Jersey but that's a little different because it's weird because it's like kind of in the area, but not really. But also Sheldon Keefe is there, and I don't know if that would have ever been a factor or not in him going there. But my point is simply that he chose a place where he feels that he can win in an area that, going to be honest with you, Kyle, how many people are going to know who Mitch Marner is, even if they're really good? It's
definitely less. Yep.
His family's chilling. He's going to be chilling. And maybe this is the best Mitch Marner we're going to see. Maybe this is a different Mitch Marner that we see. I don't know.
So here's the thing with him, right? His legacy will always be in Toronto. It doesn't matter what he does.
Sure.
He's got his money. He might go win 2 Stanley Cups with Vegas. Who knows? But his legacy will forever be known of the failures that happened in Toronto. The numerous amount of failures that happened dating all the way back to really COVID was when it started, right? With that Montreal blowout series loss, right? That's when it started. And, but you also think about this too. If you think about Mitch Marner's legacy as well, he's not considered one of the greats, and he never will be. Why? Because the greats can get it done anywhere, and they don't care whether it's in New York or in a strip club in Las Vegas. Doesn't matter.
It's true.
Like, they can get it done in the most hostile environments, and that's why they're great, right? Sure. Guys like Connor, like even McDavid, he has been able to do that, right?
I really hope he stays in Edmonton.
Right, and that's going to be a storyline going into the season until he.
By the way, I think he's going to. It just, even the way he talked about it,
sounds like he's going to sign, but everybody just won't shut up about it. Like I'd
rather it be done before the season ends because then we can.
It's a mistake if they don't, though, right? Because then it's going to be a distraction going into the season. Not that it's going to be a major issue, but they have to get
I
it
don't
done
think he has
before
to
that.
sign like right now. Like respectfully, I don't think he has to sign right now, but I think he could sign within like the first month
Sure.
and it'd be fine. But
Sure.
the longer that you don't, the more speculation, especially when they lose.
Well, we said it too. Like I even said it before we were on the hiatus for the summer, was that like going into July 1st, he didn't have to sign right away.
No,
Not
not at
really.
all.
He didn't have to, because
No.
Edmonton had to go out and showcase why he needed to stay. And so what did they do? They gave all the money to Bouchard. So
Yay.
yeah. So but real quick, just on Marner again, like
Yeah, go ahead.
his legacy's has been defined in Toronto, and that won't ever change, because we know, right? We put you in that environment. You wanted to be there. That's your homegrown team. They threw you out because you couldn't be the guy.
Yeah.
Right? You're not the driving force for a team. You know who he reminds me of? A guy like Jonathan Huberdeau.
Damn.
It's true, right? You're not the guy that's going to push this team forward.
Right.
You are simply a playmaker that's what Jonathan Huberdeau is. And he's been able to encapsulate that a little bit. So, so it sucks for him, but I also wonder, like, and maybe one of the questions that I'm going to have going into the season, like, everybody thinks now that Marner's gone, like it's going to be easier now. Toronto's going to go win the division. You're losing a 115-point player during the regular season.
Yeah.
Like that's overlooked, right? You're losing 115 points.
Because everybody's going to look at the playoff thing and be like, is it really a law? Because Leafs fans will probably say, losing Marner, did we really take a step back? I mean, from a regular season standpoint, you did.
From a playoff standpoint, we're going to find out. But it's like, okay,
maybe having someone like him go, maybe, I don't know.
You get Michelli and you get Nick Waugh. Okay, like you maybe get some points back there, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, you had a great year from Anthony Stolarz. Let's see if he reciprocates it, right? It's like I really don't think that in terms of the regular season, this team got any better. I think they took a step back because you lost 100. Say whatever you want about Marner, you lost 115 points going into the season, right? So that to me was probably my biggest look at when we look back at everything that happened in the offseason. I kind of look at that whole situation and you wonder what that's going to look like going into the season.
By the way, Kyle, just to reiterate something, you know who's a free agent on the Leafs in 2 years?
Matthews.
It would be Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
And the question then becomes with him too is,
don't forget he signed a 4-year deal, right?
He's entering year 2 of only a 4-year deal. Now, why did he only sign for 4 years?
Now we're going to find out. So unless they're leaving the window open to maybe making a move at the deadline, which I assume that they're going to, like
Brian Rust will be a Leaf when it's
I know it smells like it, doesn't it?
Him or Ricard Raquel are going to end up in Toronto.
It smells like that.
Kyle
for sure. That smells
going
like
to definitely play
send
ball.
Send them to Toronto, yeah.
And not even because he's trying to help the Leafs. He'll be like, no, I'm going to try
we need you to go.
Make it difficult.
Yeah. So last couple of things I just wanted to quickly touch upon too. Ken Dryden passed away at 78, which he was an icon, you know, and it sucks that cancer did him in, but he was such an icon, and it sucks that he was only 78 years old. Like that's what sucks. So condolences to him. Canadians did end up trading Carey Price's contract to the Sharks. So the Sharks clearly are eating more money, and that just kind of shows you too, like that's where the Sharks are at.
I don't get how that benefits the Sharks that much though.
Not entirely. No,
the only
not
reason
entirely.
I think I was explained is because it just gets them closer to the cap floor.
Yes.
But they actually still need to do more. So I don't know what's going to happen.
It's going to be weird there.
Andre Palat, please. Just it'll get you to the cap floor.
It's true. 14-year veteran Marco Scandella announced his retirement, along with 10-year vet Derek Ryan. He also announced his retirement as well.
I didn't realize that Scandella was still technically not retired.
No, he finally did at that point. A couple of jersey reveals too. I love the Krakens. Love Seattle's. Didn't really like Carolina's, if I'm being frank. I know the SurgeCast guys were like, yeah, these are great. I'm like,
as I said before, I'll say this. I said it on Twitter. I think you even saw it. I was like, the sleeve design I wasn't a fan of.
I wasn't either. No,
the white helmet would have been kind of cool.
Yes.
You just go all white and it's be fine.
Yes. It was
I could see what Carolina was doing though. They were trying to recreate the Stadium Series jersey, but my response is, well, why didn't you just keep the Stadium Series jersey then? Why didn't you just
Yeah,
do
why
that?
didn't you just roll with that? That
I
would
know
make
that
more
wasn't
sense.
Fanatics. I know that this is different now but you can still have them. They still
would've.
made a bunch of them anyway.
Yeah. Last two things before we go here. What were your thoughts on Mangiapane signing with the Oilers?
Dude, they're trying to
That pisses me off so much.
No, I'll put it this way. Can't wait for that first game in Calgary.
Oh man, I want to light him up.
I hope
Screw
I
that.
hope that they make that one of those like Amazon Prime kind of things.
The Flames are not on. They're only on one.
Yeah.
U.S. broadcasts. They aren't on a single U.S. broadcast like TNT.
Which is wild because they were on several of them last year.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with that. Let it be, man. We'll fly under the radar.
Right? Let it be.
I have no problem with that.
But yeah, no, I don't look at it as much from like, oh, former Flame goes to the Oilers. I look at it more like this. This is another attempt at Edmonton desperately trying to hope that they can find more goal scoring other than McDavid and Draisaitl. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work. Maybe
it will. Last thing, so there is hockey this week too. You mentioned it for the Devils. There is hockey coming up this week too for the Flames. They have the Youngster Showcase coming up. They're going to have a back-to-back.
Is that the actual name of the tournament?
It's the Next Gen Showcase, so it's just going to be a back-to-back with the Oilers. But I wanted to show you just real quick the Flames lineup here. More likely, they're going to start with Arseny Sergeyev here, I think is what they were saying, that he's going to get the nod, and then Owen Say might get the other nod as well. Very quickly, some of the defensemen they're going to be showcased. Brustevich is going to be there. Hertic, another Flames draft pick. Etienne Morin, Zane's going to be playing in that, which he should. Mako Phillips, this year's draft pick as well. Basha, oh yeah, he might make noise at training camp. Same thing, Battaglia as well. Matt Begradine coming off Rookie of the Year for or Offensive Player of the Year for the QMJHL. Honzik going to be playing in that, which he should. A guy you actually forget about as well. So hopefully,
we forget about because remember Honzik had a really strong training camp last year, and then he made the roster out of camp, and then he kind of fell back down to earth.
Injury did him in.
Right. I'm really curious to see what he can do this year.
Me too. Really Adar Suniev as well. So yeah, like you kind of forget about some of these rookies going into training camp. Like I'm high on Andrew Basha. I think he's going to be special, and I hope that he kind of
in person.
Yeah, I know, and I saw him light up our Sudbury Wolves here.
There you go.
And that season's coming around in I think 2 weeks. In 2 weeks
because the OHL, KHL started this week or this past week, so that was.
I think so. You know what? You might be, and maybe look for this on your end. If you really want to get into more like CHL hockey, you're going to watch college hockey as well too. But I think they moved over to Flow Hockey or Flow Sports, whatever it is. So like that's where you're gonna like. I'm kind of intrigued because I'm like, damn, like I don't want to pay $350 for the year on Sportsnet to watch all the NHL games when I could watch this Flow thing for super cheap.
Yeah.
So
and we can't use Stream East anymore. Thanks a lot for that, you dumbass.
Like for us, like me being in Canada here, like if not Sportsnet, I don't know where I'm gonna watch most of my hockey games.
Right. In the United States, we have a bit more leeway of like finding different more, but we'll see. I mean,
whatever. If that's what they want to do, then I'm not giving them any more money. It's stupid. I'm not doing it. But anyway, all right. Yes, we'll watch for the showcase this week. For this season as well, it's going to be every Monday unless something crazy happens and we need to do breaking news. Then we'll show up. Good. But we'll be here every Monday for you guys going forward until winter break, and then next summer comes along again. So
we got the Olympics.
Olympics coming up too. Yep, it's gonna be a great year and pretty good first episode to start. I would say we actually got news, which is nice to always have. Next week we'll probably talk Next Gen Showcase, and we'll see what else kind of.
Who knows? Maybe something big will happen even by that time. We will see.
One can hope. One can hope. All right. That'll wrap her up. We will see you guys again next Monday. Season 2 is officially underway. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. See ya.